The power of white supremacy, family, is when these so-called police officers, when they shoot and kill unarmed black men, women, and children, they can make up anything in their mind that their life was in danger. These so-called police officers would say, the suspect tried to kill me, even though the suspect is 5 years old. And I'm not even trying to be funny. All right. You can have a so-called police officer saying his life was in danger because a black 5-year-old boy tried to kill him. And he shot and killed the 5-year-old. Okay. Know what it is? Chauncey, aka Ukarema, Great Man of God Media, with another GMOGMedia TV spotlight, family. Back at it again, family, out in the backyard. Weather's looking great, man, and I want to get into this topic right here, family. All right, I want to get into this topic. I want to talk about black people never had the right to bear arms. We never did, and it's still happening right now to this day. Before I start my commentary, once again, my name is Chauncey, aka Ukarema, Great Man of God Media. On this channel, I talk about counter racism. I also talk about issues pertaining to racism, which is white supremacy, and I offer my suggestions on how to replace this broken system of injustice, this broken system of racism, white supremacy, with a system of justice. So if you're new, please subscribe. All right, family. So basically, I want to talk about black people never had the right, the so-called Second Amendment that says right to bear arms and to keep your firearms, etc., etc. We never had the right to bear arms. All right. So all the, to the pro-gun people, especially black people who want to carry their firearms, live in open carry states or whatever the case may be. We live in a system of racism, white supremacy. If you don't know and understand that, everything else would only confuse you. So let's take a look at this story real quick, family. All right. I'm going to go in about the recent shooting of another black boy, okay, who was shot in Columbus, Ohio. Name is Tyree King, 13-year-old, fatally shot by police in Columbus, Ohio. All right, now they said that he was carrying a gun that that was basically a replica of the real gun that the police officers used, right? They say that the gun was so realistic it had a red beam on it, very similar to what these so-called police officers in Columbus, Ohio did, but he was fatally shot. All right, family, and let's take a look at the statistics. Look on the screen real quick. I'm going to bring up the U.S. police killings of 2016 so far. You see that, family? All right. Basically, there is over 764 police-involved shootings. That's the totality of people being gunned down by these so-called police officers in the United States. 764 police killings. And if I break it down by race, it goes by 189 African Americans were shot and killed by so-called police officers in the United States. As you can see, one of the latest victims is 13-year-old Tyree King, who was shot dead by a suspected race soldier or a wannabe race soldier. I don't know if this so-called police officer was classified as non-black. I'm not sure. But here anyway, family, the crisis of owning firearms, maintaining concealed weapons, whatever the case may be, for black and Hispanics has always been filtered with racism. Always has been. All right, family, you can go back into the history of firearms pertaining to black people. If a free slave, whether you're a free slave or not, if you were caught with a firearm, if you were caught with some kind of gun back in the antebellum slavery days, you would be considered, first of all, you would be punished. And not only that, not only would you be punished, family, you would actually have 39 lashes. All right, I'll read some of the slave codes that they had. All right, one of the slave codes was no right to bear arms or self-defense. Blacks were prohibited from possessing weapons or lifting a hand against any white person, even in self-defense. If caught carrying a gun, the enslaved would receive 39 lashes with a whip and forfeit his weapon. In some places, even free blacks couldn't carry a gun. Eerily similar to how the police violence is protected by the laws of today, the violence of slaveholders or overseas granted them the right to kill that enslaved black people without fear of prosecution. So again, these so-called police officers, of course, as you know, police officers were slave patrol. They were meant to make sure that these white supremacists, that their property, which are the slaves, did not basically revolt. That's the origin of these so-called police officers. They were slave patrols, making sure that black slaves did not escape and did not revolt. That was the whole purpose of so-called police officers, protecting the property of these white supremacists and making sure their property, which is also black people, that they did not revolt. All right. So the right to bear arms, like I said, family, black people never had the right to bear arms, and we still don't till this day. So you got a kid, another black child, similar to Tamir Rice. These race soldiers come up, or these suspected race soldiers, they shoot and kill without probable cause. Remember, family, when you are black in America, your weapon is your melanin, your skin tone. That's the first weapon of choice that these suspected race soldiers see on black people. So whether or not you're carrying a firearm, you know, that just adds more fuel to the fire. If you have a firearm, supposedly, that adds more fuel to the fire. So when these suspected race soldiers, they see a black suspect who may fit the description of a incident, an armed robbery, whatever the case may be, and they see somebody walking down the street that may so-called fit the description, right, of an incident, they have a right to go and detain you, right, search you, whatever the case may be. The power of white supremacy, family, is when these so-called police officers, when they shoot and kill unarmed black men, women, and children, they can make up anything in their mind that their life was in danger. These so-called police officers would say, the suspect tried to kill me, even though the suspect is 5 years old. And I'm not even trying to be funny. All right. You can have a so-called police officer saying his life was in danger because a black 5-year-old boy tried to kill him, and he shot and killed the 5-year-old. Okay. And again, I'm not trying to be funny. These are the type of things that these white supremacists, that these suspected white supremacists, they make up in their mind. They can say that their life is in danger. They can pull somebody over, say somebody didn't resist arrest, they were not compliant, or they can be compliant. They can make up anything in their mind to ensure that the execution, that the killing, that the murdering of unarmed black men, women, and children are justified. That's the power of white supremacy, family. And that's what you guys got to understand. Blacks and Hispanics, we never, ever were allowed to have firearms. So if you live in an open carry state or a concealed weapon state, whatever the case may be, you have a firearm as a black person, you're still a target. You're still a target, and the NRA, the white supremacist groups, these militia groups, these firearm militia groups, they never wanted to see black people with firearms. All right, family, that is just more reason for them to hate you if you have a firearm. All right, so my suggestion for black folk who want to carry firearms, etc., etc., we got to do two things, family. Gun control reform, ensuring that there's no discrimination of any kind when applying for a concealed weapon, when you're in an open carry state, right? That blacks and Hispanics do not get racially profiled or discriminated upon as far as obtaining and owning a weapon in their state. That's the first thing. The second thing is we have to make and manufacture our own firearms. It's just that simple. The NRA, all of these gun manufacturers, Smith & Wesson, etc., they were founded on white supremacy. We need our own black gun manufacturers. We need to make and distribute our own firearms. It's just that simple, family. Just that simple. All right, so the continued onslaught of black people carrying a toy weapon or a real weapon, whatever the case may be, is going to continue to happen because these police officers are going to continue to get off of executing black men, women, and children, whether or not the gun was real or fake. If the gun was real or fake, they'll still shoot you. You could be a suspect of an armed robbery down the street. They can still pull you over, say you got a gun, right? Say you didn't have a gun, whatever the case may be, they will execute you on sight. All right, and as I read to you that these slave codes they had, free blacks weren't allowed to have firearms, etc., etc. We have a situation, family, where black people collectively as a group, we have no other choice but to make and manufacture our own firearms. That's the only solution, and make sure that these gun laws are completely reformed. All right, completely reformed to make sure that nobody is discriminated upon regarding a concealed weapon, making sure that these so-called police officers are actually trying to do their job, right? And when a black person down the street is pulled over by a suspected race soldier and they say that he has a gun on him, just like similar to the case in Louisiana, just like the Alton Sterling case, family, where you had a grown man who had a concealed weapon on him, right? The white supremacists want to say, well, he was a felon, but race soldiers, they don't care whether or not you had a clean or dirty background. They just see a black man on the street who supposedly is threatening somebody's life, and they on high alert. Police officers, these so-called police officers, are trained to shoot to kill. So an Alton Sterling who was selling DVDs gets shot and executed by race soldiers. That is the system of racism, white supremacy. That is the system that we live in. So you got to understand that blacks carrying firearms is a no-no in this country because we live in a system of racism, white supremacy. Again, we have to make and manufacture our own firearms, and we have to change these gun laws. It's just that simple. So wherever you live, go to your local legislative office, your state commission's office, and demand changes and reform in gun control laws of the state of where you live in, the city where you live in, etc. This is what we have to start doing right now, family. We have to start doing this on our own, making sure that we change this system of racism, white supremacy, to a system of justice. All right, family, that's what I wanted to talk about. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. All right, family, Chauncey, aka Ukarema, Great Man of God Media, signing out. Peace.